Welcome to Kid Addiction, where we talk about cycling kits and gear, and today I want to talk about the Shebeest Petunia line of shorts and bibs. So, got the old school version here, new school version here, and the bib short version here. So if you saw my other video, I talked a lot about bibs. This has the easy off function, that's why I love them. It's a halter style. We can come back to that in a second, but this kind of gets a little bit of attention. Shebeest gets a little bit of attention specifically because they have this style. It makes it easy for them to come off without taking your jersey off. So what's the most important thing in general when you're talking about shorts? It's the chamois. If the chamois is not good, you're not going to wear them. So this chamois, I measured this before. I think it's about 6 inches across, including just the padded area. Let's see if I'm right. Oop, wrong end of that. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, okay. If we just do the padded part, it's like 6 and change, maybe 7. That said, that's not that wide for a chamois. If you're at 168 saddle width, 168 millimeter saddle width, this might be too narrow for you. You'll end up sitting right at the edge. I'm more of a 155, so I'm kind of closer to the center. That's probably why these don't bother me as much. The one thing I can note is that when I'm in the drops, it causes a problem because these are kind of short. I think the length is like maybe 10 inches. I'm gonna go with 10. Let's see if I'm right. End of the pad to the end of hard pad, 10 inches, give or take. So that's not the longest, not the shortest, but it's not the longest either. And unfortunately, the padding, the dense padding does go all the way up to the edge, but since they're short, it really doesn't matter. If they were a little longer, you could spend more time in the drops without feeling that pinch or uncomfortableness. The one good things about this, positives, the seaming is moved far away from that tender area where your leg's gonna be bending a lot, and it's the butteriest, softest seam. Ooh, it's so smooth. This is among the best seams that I've including other more expensive shorts. So I gotta give them that. Unfortunately, the nature of the chamois being so small and not really as dense as some others means that these are not my primary shorts for longer rides. I think I max out at like 60 miles in these bad boys. If I'm doing anything over 60, I'm not gonna pick these because I have other options and it just doesn't make sense. These are the kind of thing, because this chamois is so unforgiving, they're the kind of shorts that will expose any issue. So if your saddle is too narrow or too wide, if it's tilted incorrectly, like the nose is up or too far forward or too far back, if your cleats are out of position, if you have any fit issues, these shorts are going to expose them for you. So that was my issue with Shebeest in general and their chamois. So chamois aside, even though that's like the main function and part of any short that you should be looking at purchasing, the other things that you want to think about when you're buying a pair of shorts are the banding at the bottom and at the top. So back to the bottom. We already said that the seam, that center seam on the band here, does not go all the way up to the thigh or up to your inner thigh. Thank goodness, because that would be awful. So they put some thought into that as well. Silicone all the way around, so it doesn't really ride up. Again, if shorts ride up, it's going to create a chafing situation. The fabric, excess fabric is going to rub, and if it chafes, that's the worst, right? So a wider band with that silicone is definitely your friend, and because the band is wide, it prevents sausage leg and the fact of cutting into your leg. Like a narrower band tends to, at least for me, intended to cut into my leg, which I hated on longer rides. So if I see a short with one of those narrow folded over sewn bands, I don't even bother with it because I'm just not gonna wear it. It's uncomfortable. So these do well to avoid sausage leg and to avoid pain in the bottom of your leg. Now onto the top. That was really the last straw with these. While I do love that all the Petunia brands or all the Petunia shorts have some sort of pocket in the back top band, this old style had an elastic inside the short itself. You can see that. So it held the shorts in place really well once they were on. The newer version does not have that. They took the body of the shorts, same material, folded it over twice, and boom, that's the top of these shorts. So because it has this big pocket in the back, when I would be leaning over in the drops or even like down in the hoods, I might get a little triangle of fabric popping out, and it was just so uncomfortable, and it would lift my jersey up, and it just wasn't really what I was looking for. And besides the fact that it was a sign that the shorts weren't on properly and they were going to shift down, that means your chamois is out of place, you're getting chafing, all of that. So I can't really mess with these on longer rides, specifically because of the top. So it's not just the chamois, it's, for me personally, it's the top of the shorts. I can get away with that. These 60 miles, okay, fine. Century, no, and I'll tell you why. Petunia, Shebeest actually has a Century short. So right there, they're telling you that these are not their top of the line shorts. They have another pair of shorts for longer rides, and it's called their Century short, and it has a different chamois in it. So that right there tells you this is not their best thing, and that's perfectly fine. Every brand has, you know, degrees for the most part. I guess the issue with and I get why they would change this top banding part, because it's so narrow and kind of tight. I would bet that it cuts right into your stomach. If it's fit wrong at all, or I can speak for myself when I go to the cafe and I decide I want to eat a whole meal before I ride off again, that's probably gonna hurt. It's gonna be, now it's snug. Now I'm bloated because I just wanted to have all that dairy that I shouldn't be having, and now this is snug and it's cutting into me. So I can get why maybe people complained about that, and that's why Shebeest decided to change this design. That said, most other companies that have a short design, they do a V at the waist to avoid that cutting in while still giving you the support to keep them from sliding down. Instead, they just took the elastic out, which is fine. I mean, that's a cheaper way of redesigning this without changing the entire front of the short and their sewing pattern and everything else. Unfortunately, it didn't really personally work for me because of the roll down factor without that elastic, and because of the gaping issue. I can't deal with that. That was pretty much the last straw for me, which brought me over to the Bibs. So at least they're easy off. Like you said, you can just kind of take them off like that. But because they're basically the same shorts, but with a mesh on the top. So they don't have a lot of support here. This isn't even double over fabric. Yes, they have a pocket, and that's great. But because this is so flopsy, and that's my word for when things don't have a lot of support, it tends to put a lot of weight on the back of your neck. Not horrible because this material is so forgiving. It's a fun print too. Very forgiving, doesn't really cut into me. I generally don't have horrible problems with these, but I could see how they might be problematic for other people. So I gotta make a warning there that it would be better for these if they'd be better designed if this material came up a little bit further or had an elastic in there somewhere. That straight waist design, you're always gonna have that balance between wanting to put something tight to hold them in place and not wanting to cut in across the middle of your stomach. So that's where Shebeest, I think, is going wrong. Just the general construction of this being a flat panel in the front means that all the weight is on your neck. So if you can't tolerate that, or if the ride is too long, or it starts to get uncomfortable there, God forbid it gets caught, or you have a necklace and it's over the necklace, oof, that's gonna be a rough time. So just keep that in mind when you're talking about halters with very little support. Overall, though, what they do really well is storage, because they all have pockets, and prints. That's what Shebeest does really well. When they have a Century short with a better chamois, but it only comes in black, and then you have things like this that are super fun, it's easy to acknowledge that their prints are among the best and most varied in the industry, or that are available for women, especially with a nature break option. That said, I wish I didn't have to choose between fashion and function. Clearly, I've made that choice 3 times, and I do like these shorts, but I can't recommend them for your longer rides. These are your fashion shorts. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that you need to go into it with some expectations, something you know what to expect with these, and it's not a Century, basically. So if you have any questions, concerns, review requests, leave them in the comments. Please subscribe and go ride your bike.